desert rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing. Now the old king is dead, long live the king. One minute I held the key, next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, once you've gone it was never, never an honest word. That was when I ruled the world. It was the wicked and wild wind, blew down the doors to let me in, shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my hand on a silver blade, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, never an honest word, but that was when I ruled the world. Hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name, never an honest word, but that was when I ruled the world.
Good evening, Sorors, and welcome to Real Talk with Val. Real questions, real answers. Thank you all for attending tonight. We are excited to hear from our International Centennial Grand Basilisk, as well as provide you an opportunity to ask questions. We will not be providing copies of tonight's meeting, and we ask that you not record. We also ask that you not use any type of note taker during the meeting. If you use a note taker, you will be removed from the meeting and will not be able to re-enter. It is our goal to answer as many questions as we can. However, we have a significant amount of sorors registered, therefore, we will not be able to answer everyone's question. There are some topics which are sensitive or covered by agreements which cannot be discussed. During the question and answer period, you can type your questions in the Q&A section. Many of your questions may be answered by visiting the website at vhbforgrand.com. Sorors, may I present to you our International Centennial Grand Basilisk, Valerie M.C. Hollingsworth Baker.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Sora McCandless, for that intro. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. I want to thank you first for joining me tonight. I've been looking forward to meeting with you and sharing my heart, my options and opinions, and facts on several things related to our sisterhood. I have received many questions and thought it was important to answer with checkable facts. First, my prayers and thoughts go out to those of you who were part of the 300,000 Black women who were laid off from federal employment this year. This dismantling of DEI, federal job cuts, especially the field of education, which many of our sorors are members of and negatively impact our families and communities. This impacts our members' ability to stay financial, donate, and stay active at the level they are accustomed to. While supporting the communities, let's not forget to support our sorors. Now, with that being said, I want to take a moment because before you all start asking me questions, there are a couple of top questions that I've been asked over the last couple of months since I decided to throw my hat back into the ring and run for International Grand Basilisk. And I just wanted to get a couple of those out of the way before I start answering your questions. So I hope that you give me that kind of grace to allow me to do that because I'm sure it is a topic on many who are here right now that want to hear. First of all, I've been asked, why do I want to come back? Why do I want to be Grand Basilisk? Well, that's an easy question for me. It may not be an easy question for others, depending on what you may or may not have been through in your sorority life. And I know that I've had my ups and downs, but I can tell you that I love this sorority and I love the members, my sorors, my sisters. I feel that my job had not been completed. I'm a person that many of you may know. I'm a woman with a plan. And when I promise something, I want to deliver. I've delivered much in my time as being the Grand Basilisk, but I believe that I could have finished delivering more. And with that being said, I never turned my back on Zeta. Sometimes when you go through these changes, and even if you're on a campaign trail, and even if you win or you lose, what really counts is how you manage even through a loss. Some of us that lose, they go away and they don't come back, or they're mad with the organization. I've never done that. I've stayed the course. I've done my best. I immediately was asked to go into ZNAF in September of 2022 as an affiliate member, and I did that. And then I became the chair in August of 2023, and I have worked tirelessly for ZNF and for Zeta for the last 2 years. That is somebody that wants to do the job of Zeta. wants to make sure that everyone is included, wants to get that collaborative spirit together, wants to know that I want you to know that I love you and everything about this organization. And I'm here to continue what I started. And that is why I want to run again, because I want to finish. I want to finish well. And I want to take Zeta to the next level, and that is to the fifth power. So, yes, I'm committed to everything about Zeta and the membership, and that is why I'm here today. Now, another thing that has come up, and this a ticklish situation, because I know many, because when you talk about lawsuits, people have asked me. I know that it was brought up at the Atlantic region in the president and CEO's report about when coming in, what she faced. Now, I want to be very honest here and let you know, every grand basilisk that comes into office, and I've been here since I know Edith Francis was the grand basilisk. Every grand basilisk faces some trial and tribulation. There is something left over from a prior administration. Everybody can't finish everything, but sometimes there are things that are left over that can't be finished. Maybe there's things that need to be redone. So to say what you walked into is one thing, but I'm here to tell you, I've walked into much myself. But the character of a person is not to go and blame a prior administration. Work it out, do your best, and move forward. I had to work on lawsuits. I didn't turn around and blame the past administration. I did my best to work it through. I had to take up other boulets that were being planned, but I did not go back and look at the other administration. I did what I had to do to make it right. And that's what we need to do, because if we keep going like this, we cause division in the sisterhood. People against each other, mad with each other. I don't want that. I am over that. I am past that. I have moved on, and I am happy with who I am and with the members and with the sorority. I want to do what's good to continue the good work of this sorority and its membership. So yes, that ticklish situation that people talk about, why did you sue the sorority? Let's have a timeline here. Maybe you didn't know, but I was not the first in this list of what was going on. The sorority sued the international past Grand Basilisk Barbara Carpenter in August of 2021 because she was in charge of a special boule. And the board members did not want that to happen, even though the sisterhood called for it. She was taken to court in her own city, and she is an elected official. She was embarrassed. Her name was dragged out there, and that's because of the sorority and the board members, not Valerie Hollingsworth Baker. But after that happened, and the sisterhood spoke, and I was supposed to be able to go back and do my job, I was stonewalled. And you cannot continue to break rules or to persecute people without them having to have something to say. So yes, I did not sue the sorority, but I did have to take to court the individuals, the elected individuals that was elected by the body, that I needed them to stop the persecution. I did not sue the sorority. And I want you to understand that. Many of us have been hurt. Many of us have gone through trials and tribulations, but I'm not going to stand and allow people, what they've done to me, those people, not 28,000 people, but that set of people, I had to make sure that they stop. It It went to court. And in January of 2022, the court said that I can go back and do what I had to do. So that's what I was doing. And I was glad to finish it right there and then. But once again, the board decided that they wanted to go ahead and appeal. So you see, when you appeal, you got to go on back again. And the appeal didn't really take place till, ironically, after July of 2022, when I was out of office. So at that point, anybody could have dropped this and said, stop, it's enough. But they didn't. So it went back and we had to go to arbitration. And then arbitration was over in September. And that's what I can tell you. Those are the steps. But we had tried on more than one occasion, my lawyers, myself, to try to come to some semblance with that board at the time, but they did not want to work it out. So you see, before you start or anybody tells you, oh, she sued a sorority, get all the facts. We did try to work this out. We could have stopped this a long time ago. But of course, if other people do not want to work with you on that, you've got to do what you have to do to protect yourself. And my name and my reputation is important just like anybody else's. So that is where I'm going to stop at that because, as I said, I'm good. I'm okay. Because I know sometimes it's about business, it's about politics, it's about whatever, but I don't blame people. This is not a blame game. This is not a cycle where I want to come back and get at anybody because I don't. My soul is good. It's at rest. I love what I'm doing and I want to continue of doing what I do best for this organization. So no, this is not to get it even with anybody. This is not to throw stones at anybody. I want to run a fair, clean campaign. I do not want to, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody's name. I want to just show you what I'm about. Learn about me. Don't listen to what other people say that hardly know me to begin with, but they heard from somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. But take time to learn about a person, but not just me. Learn about your sisters because before you start liking and disliking people, you need to find out who they are and why they're like that. So let's try to be more sisterly with each other. Now, the last thing I get a lot of questions about is Boulay. And why? Because I know you had a town hall. I know that it was stated, well, it was the prior administration. That's why you have 5,000 people. This is the prior administration. Once again, many of us as grands had to come into boulets that were already planned. And I am no exception to the rule. But I didn't blame any prior administration. I put my head down and I went to work. Now I can tell you, I have a contract, the prior administration contract for the Gaylord. Number one, it was signed in 2019. Okay. Now think back those many years. We had an event planner. She is a soror. She was the event planner that was even in the prior administration to me, and an excellent event planner. And she made sure that we got the best deal that we could at the time because we wanted to make sure that rates were reasonable, the place was reasonable, and that we had space. That's why we went to the Gaylord in Nashville. But let me also say why we went there is because South Central has not had a boule in over 30 years. So we were trying to spread it around so it would be fair to every region because there are many regions that had it 2 and 3 times. But South Central did not. So that was the thinking of that time. Now, when you come to think of the things that had occurred since then, we had to turn around to get that place, the Gaylord. We had to give them the figures from 2018, the figures from 2016. And as the event planner said, and she baked in 10, 15% extra to come up with a total. At that time, our boulets were registering about 3,500, 4,000, 4,100. So they added that increase. Now, the place that we have, it's a city in itself. The largest room in that place holds 10,000 people. So we said, this is what the event planner said and suggested to me, which I took because I'm not the expert, she is. Let's do with 5, and we still have space to grow. We didn't take up the entire hotel. We took up about 1888 in rooms. We got a price of $239 that included the resort fee. And then all you had to do was pay the taxes on that. Now, you hear that they took up the entire hotel now, but the price is much higher. If you're taking up the entire hotel, my question would be, why would the price be higher? Because now you're giving them more room rates and more rooms to take up. So it should be even the same or a little less. But that's not my question on that. That should be the sisterhood, because my contract states it was 239, including the resort fee. We had and parking was a separate situation because the parking wasn't owned by the hotel, and the event planner said her parking was much less. Now, you can configure that differently and get more people in there. I did ask, and it can be done. So just holding with 5,000 is not really an excuse that should be told. It really needs to be figured out if you can. Maybe you need overflow. Now, in some of these bigger organizations, they have to have overflow because they can't have everybody sit in the same place. And when you think of 2019 till now, what happened? We had a complete version overhaul of our Constitution and bylaws, which now added more delegates. Okay. Then you have your life members. So what we used to have and what we have now is different. So you've had to add all of that in. Plus we have a surge of all these new members that are coming in because our first anti is marching to the tune of 30,000. So now this all happened in the next couple of years, but still in all, you will be able to manage and reconfigure rooms. Now, my question would have been, well, when you've got this contract, did you look at it right away? And did you ask the meeting planner at the time, could she help? Because obviously she did the contract. I asked the meeting planner, did they contact her? So because she would have gone, she went down there. She knows all the people. She knows everybody that would be able to help. And she said that she wasn't contacted about that. So if you start off and you start making changes and you don't ask, once again, the prior administration, and it doesn't have to necessarily be me, but it could be the meeting planner or someone that was working on the event, you would have probably gotten a better idea of how you could go about rearranging and making this thing. But for the life of me, I still can't understand, when you take up all the rooms in the hotel, how the room rate gets to be more expensive. So I'm saying all of this to say, we really, when we're in transition, we've got to do transition. I've transitioned with this administration. I made sure that they had everything that they needed. There was no sour grapes with me. I did over 21 and a half hours in over 2 months transitioning with this administration, making sure that the current grant was aware of everything, of all the contracts I turned over, all the sponsorships, all the donate, all the different programs, the program directors we're talking to, all of that was taken care of. So I don't want anybody to think that I was not cooperative, because I am cooperative, because I follow the rules. If the sisterhood wants that person, I'm going to follow the rules and make sure that it was taken care of. And I made sure that everything was on tape and turned all the tapes over to the transition team. I always have my receipts because I want it to be fair and honest. And any other critical things that had to be taken care of, which was even a lawsuit that was in my time that didn't end until the new administration, because it took that long. I knew it was coming up at the end of that at July. And I myself contacted the new sitting grant and said, if you want, I will go to the meeting and sit in and make sure that we are represented properly, because I know that you're just coming on and I will be there for you. And I did that. And I worked through the fall to make sure that the case was complete. So once again, when people say things, get all the facts, not half the facts. But I'm here because I'm giving you what I have in black and white and what I know that I can provide as facts. So I'm not going to take up any more time with you. Those are the things that I've been hearing about. Those were the top questions that I've received. I wanted to get that out of the way, but now I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle Jones, because she's going to be working the boards. And I know that they are questions that want to be asked, and we're not going to take much of your time tonight. We said that we would be here for about 45 minutes. So I will take all questions then, but please have no fear. If you don't get your question answered tonight, we are going to have a couple more of these talks over the next couple of months, and we will take what we have and start them with the next one and the next one, because I want you to be able to know that I am here to answer your questions and for you to really get to know me as a person, so that you can form your own opinion and not what other people are saying that may not be truthful. Thank you. Sir Jones, do we have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Grand Val. And good evening to everyone. I'm excited to be the moderator for the question and answer period. Please go ahead and start sending in your questions. The chat section has been disabled. As the hostess rather, indicated when we signed on, we will try to get to as many of the questions as we possibly can. But thank you, Grand Val, for being candid and for providing facts and information that will help everyone in conversations they have and decisions that will have to be made. I'm going to open the question and answer board. Um, um, the first question. So to be clear, Grand Val, you did not sue the sorority.
That is correct. I did not sue the sorority. It was individuals on the board that received subpoenas to go to court, and those were the people that were sued. Now, I don't know where sue the sorority, but if you're saying that the board is the sorority, which it's those are members of a board, but they're not the sorority. It was individuals. And to be honest with you, that is that is public knowledge because that was being that it went to court, all of those documents and documentation was there for anyone to review at that time.
Thank you. The next question is, with rising costs affecting everyone, what specific strategies will you implement to minimize financial impact on dues paying members?
Well, thank you for that question. The first thing I have to say is that as long as I was in office, I did not raise any dues because I found other options where monies can come in. That is why it's so important where you start to go out there to seek sponsorship and seek those that are going to give you residual income. I can let you know that that is something that I'm good at and with the connections I've made and more connections that I have been making since I've been on ZNF and those that I am also making because I want to bring that back to the sorority, you have to do other things besides depending on dues because you cannot keep taxing people. So that is one of the things we have to look at what type of partnerships, especially bringing in residual income, because that's very, very important. Because I can tell you just for one of these fact checks, when I brought in CLC, and I want to first thank Dr. Denisha Hendricks because she introduced me to one of the vice presidents in CLC, and I went from there, and that's the Greek licensing over 3 years, 2020 to 2022. The royalties that came directly to Zeta was $439,590.50. So that money could be used to do things other than trying to tax its members. When I brought in New Balance with the Jairus group, and we were the first that had those sneakers, 65,000 came to us at that boule because we were getting those sneakers. Now, what's really important for you to know is that these same two companies is something that is still active in the sorority today. And that is the residuals that this administration is is collecting off of what came from the prior administration. And with those residuals, there's an estimated between 2023 to 2025 over $1,223,000. That's what I bring to the table. Not only do I bring it for the administration that I'm over, but I leave it for the next administration and the next administration and the next administration. Because with CLC, when I did their contracts with them, I made sure that we got a 75-25% split. 75 in the name of Zeta, 25% for them. I also did that with Hearth Jones. And what the jewelry that you buy from them, we got 15% from them. So there are things that I've been doing to make sure that we get money back, meaning Zeta, so that we don't have to increase dues and we don't have to tax our members as hard as maybe some that are not bringing in the money, and that's what we'll have to do eventually would be to increase dues. But we can't do that right now because we're in a crisis situation because of the government. We have to do things for our swords that's going to benefit them, keep the cost down, and keep it moving, but making sure that we can still do the things that we have to do as an organization. And that's what I'm about, and that's what I will bring to the table.
Thank you, Grand Val. What specific plans do you want to complete? And what plans do you have for the sorority going forward?
Well, I have in the next couple of months, the whole entire platform will be unveiled, and a specific time for that. But I will tell you, just as general, there are plans There are a new capstone initiative that I'm interested in that is still going to include our health equity, our economic impact, our social action. Because, see, I don't believe in just coming in and throwing out what somebody else does. That doesn't make sense to me because that's why we're where we are today. We want to say, well, why is Delta doing this? Or why is AKA doing? Why do they got this? Why they got? Because they have a brand. They have the same principle. They're doing the same thing over and over and over again and just making it better. When I came in the office, I didn't get rid of what the prior administration did. I worked with it. I made it better. There are things that I would like to do when I started with online payment plan. I mean, there's still things that we need to do to make sure that that is up and running the way that it should be all the way around. I mean, even with whatever this administration doing, but there is still stuff that needs to be done. There's still another thing. We need archival with ZHO. I mean, it's great to have ZMF up and running, but there's other things that we need to do to archive the system. We need to do things with Zoe. We need to bring everything together under the one umbrella and then start to then kind of make sure that we are honing in on certain opportunities and goals. We had a college, just like now the new college. But I don't understand what happened to the old college. But we had Carolina Christian University. I have wanted to do more with that, but we did a lot. We had a certificate program for leadership training. We had CEUs from them, and they also gave discounts for members who were going to come to the college, enroll for masters and PhDs. So these are things that we could keep and continue to capitalize on. You don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You try to continue to do more on that level. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to throw anything away. I want to enhance and keep going with a major plan because we have to educate our members on so many levels, not just what's happening in Zeta, and having these large trainings. But we've got to hone into what really is needed, and that could be outside of Zeta as well as inside of Zeta. That's what I had started with the executive training. I think that there's more that we can build from that executive training because we want all our women, not just a handful to be in the C-suite. We want many more to be there. We want them to start from the ground level and work their way up, but they will need that help. They will need that special coaching. This is what we started. This I hope will continue, and I want it to continue with the next. There are other things that I want to do with sponsorship and partnerships. There's some think tanks that I'm looking at with at the actual sponsors. Because that's going to be the meat and potatoes. Because you say, what about our dues? We don't want to go any higher. Well, we've got to bring in more money. We've got to get more things in. And I have quite a number of ideas, but I want to also bring that customer service back. The customer service where we are really not only treating our partners, our donors, our sponsors, but each other. Each one of you, have I said that since I was first anti, is my client. And when I think of it, because I'm a corporate person and I think of a client, I'm supposed to give them the best customer service possible because I want them to come back and I want them to say, I like doing business with Valerie because number one, she answers my phone calls on a timely basis. She gets back to me through my emails. If I have a problem, she's going to if she can't fix it, she's going to find somebody to fix it. It's going to be turned around right away. These are the things that I have done. These are the things that I've continued to do in my hat as chair of ZNF. And these are the things that I'm going to continue to do as your next grant because I believe you're more important than anything else because you make Zeta run. If we can't keep the members together and happy and make sure that they are being treated fairly, that everybody's treated fairly, whether it's with discipline or anything else. Don't get me started there. There's a lot going on there as well. But I can tell you that we have to be together on how we are handling each other so that we can start moving farther. That's why I say there's HTC, healing, togetherness, and cohesiveness. Now I tell you that's my heart and my passion because I know where I've been. But if you don't start to heal, you'll never get to the forgiveness. And then if you don't get to the forgiveness, you won't be cohesive working together. We can't keep going back and throwing something over the fence and keep saying it's about that administration or it's about this person or that because you're not making anybody feel good. We got to take what we have as leaders and make it work. Make it move forward. We can't do a blame game on others. Good leaders just bite the bullet and keep it working. And that's what we all need to do on every level. Let's do what we can to make it work, make it better. I'm not going to look back. I'm not going to look back on what happened in 21, 22, 20. I'm going to look forward. That's what I've been doing. To heal, you have to look forward. Then the forgiveness. There are some that, even on that, I work with them now. I talk to them. We're good. You know why? Because God is good. When He heals your heart, you don't have any malice. You can move forward. You could be happy and working and toiling in the fields, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do to make this a better sorority. And that's where I'm at in my life. And that's why I hope that we can all come together and be in the same place.
Thank you so much, Grand Val, for that insight and really showing us your heart on these matters. We have a question that relates kind of to what you spoke to in terms of partnerships and sponsorships. It says, I know you've done remarkable things with ZNF. What is one of your major initiatives as it relates to partnerships once you return, you plan on implementing? Partnerships are crucial for financial reasons and collaboration. And you kind of spoke to that. So they're asking, is there any major initiative as it relates to partnership that you plan on implementing or would like to share that you would like to bring to the sorority?
Well, I'd like to share that I'm working on several partnerships. That's what I would like to share. I'm not going to share much more because, as you know, when you're working, you want to make sure that you got everything down and you got it on paper so that when you're ready to roll, you're ready to roll. But what I will say is that I want to aim and put partnerships in those categories. You have partnerships that are going to deal with, everything social action. You're going to have partnerships that are going to deal with everything that is that economic um, equity. Then you have the partnerships that are going to deal with health. Then you have your general partnership. I want to make sure that all of these fit into certain areas. Some of the partners that I had that I see that are here right now, I'm going to go back to because I believe that they will be helpful and they will come back. I've made strides in working with all of these partners. And I do believe that once you can talk to them and let them know how they fit into the plans, that they will be happy to work with you. Not only that, but I'm targeting other new partners that we could bring into the fold because they will bring something. But what's going to be important is that I also want partners not just because they're going to give us money for the organization so we can work our programs and we can work administration and all of that. But I want partners that are going to benefit the members, like we did with Dell, like we did with Geico, like we do with D Free. I want to bring in more partners like that, because you have that, like when you go to work, you know your jobs have they have different insurance, and they have different dental, they have everything, and they say, well, you can get a discount because you work for XYZ. Well, I want to do more of those, because I believe I also want to be able to help and enrich the lives of the members by bringing in these partners, as well as other partners who are going to help enrich the sorority by bringing money into the coffers, so that we can then continue to give out funds like NCNW. When I was grand and I brought that in, and we were the first affiliate for that COVID-19. All of the money that we got through there, and that was over $300,000, we gave it back to the chapters and the states and the regions that were dealing with COVID. When March of Dimes, when everyone was saying, well, we give a lot of money to March of Dimes, and yes, we do. We in my time, it was over $2 million that we gave in 3 years. So yes, we give a lot of money to March of Dimes, but you gotta work through the layers of whoever is in those managements and talk to them. And the first thing I said when we were getting ready to sign an updated MOU, I said to them in 21, I said, we've been giving money for years. And it's about time we look at how are we going to get some of it. What are we going to get as a give back? What is going to be for us? Because we know that you're nonprofit. We know that, you're going to give this, you're dealing with healthy babies, and you're making sure that, you have all these webinars and seminars, and then all of the scientific things that are going about that you have to pay for. I understand all of that. But what are you going to give back some of these key donors that are giving you $700,000-800,000 a whop every year? And I said, I think we need to get some type of percentage back off of something, because my members going to want to know, what are we getting? So what happened is that we worked it out, because I was the president at that time and I were quite friendly. And she said, well, what do you think, Val? I said, well, if we tell you that we're going to try to raise X amount of dollars, any dollar over what we say we're going to raise, how much ever it is, I'd like 10% back. So they agreed. And we started working like that. It started small, but I would say I wouldn't. What I did is that a smart money says, well, they're going to ask you how much. Well, you're not going to tell them, oh, we're going to raise $800,000. No, you tell them, we think we can manage 550 or six. Now, if you get eight, it's going to be every dime after 550 that you're going to get 10% for. And that's what we did. We received money back from March of Dimes on everything over the minimum that we said we would raise. And what we did is we turned those funds around, and we gave it back to chapters across the nation that had active stork's nests, so that they can be able to feather their stork's nest to help with the educational component. It's about a give back. I worry about the sisterhood as far as the chapters, because you are the grassroots of this organization. I can sit up at the top and wave to you and come down and give you a pretty speech and do all of that and come up with a great idea and give it to you. But you know what? You are the ones that are doing all the work. So I, as the captain of the ship, I got to make sure that I'm giving back something to each one of the chapters that is doing so much good in the communities off of these special initiatives, so that they can continue to do that work, so that we can continue to be great. It's about you. I'm about the sisterhood and what you all do. And I'm going to be out there fighting for you, getting that money, bringing it in, coming up with new ideas and plans, so that I can continue to help you, to help your communities to do better.
Thank you, Grand Val. Um, just a quick comment. It's not really a question. I think, well, it is a question because people want to know how they can get your background. I see that one. But also, here's one, and there's really two or three questions in this one question. How exclusive do you aspire Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated to be? How would you acknowledge and address the distinct challenges faced by rural Zeta chapters and create intentional, meaningful strategies to support their growth in both brand and membership? And do you believe in a one size approach when developing policies, procedures, and programming? And I know that's a lot. So if I need to repeat or go question by
Well, I'm gonna try.
question,
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna try my listening skills here. So y'all work
okay,
with me, okay?
okay, all
Now,
right.
what I hear here is very important because you're talking about rural areas. And I'm glad, and that's what I heard right off the bat. Why? Because this is what I've been saying, not just about rural areas, but our overseas chapters. This is something that bothers me in terms of how is are we the internal structure, are we able to help all of these types of chapters, whether they're in the rural area or whether they're in the overseas in the third world countries? It's we have to really put something together. Bring some of those same people from the rural area, from the overseas. We have to come with a think tank to help to see what is it that they need. We should not be saying, well, they should do this and they should do that, because we don't live there. We don't know. I come from the Republic of Brooklyn. I don't know what's going on in the cornfields, and neither do I know what's going on over there in Dubai. Okay, but I know that our structure of how we are in the United States may not be the best structure for all the overseas chapters or all the rural chapters. We have to come to a meeting of the minds of what's going to help them to survive, how they can work well together, how programs that will touch their hearts and their communities work. And that is not just for rural, but that is for the overseas. I mean, right now there's still problems where you can't ship stuff over there with FedEx. But if we're doing FedEx all the time, then that shuts them out. Then it's UPS. There's so many little things that you don't even think about. Then there's time frame differences. And then in the rural areas, it's like they're miles away from anything. So what are we actually doing? How can we help them? And we need to hear from them. We need to listen to what their needs are and then try to incorporate that into a meaningful plan that will be consistent to help them as well as to help the overseas.
And Grand Val, that leads right into actually a question that is coming from a soror in the Bahamas that says, how does your plans factor in overseas chapters like those in the Bahamas? How do you plan to specifically target their deeper understanding of the organization and the needs that are not similar to American chapters, speaking specifically to those chapters in the Bahamas?
Well, the Bahamas to me is still the same thing as overseas chapters. And we have to hear from them what is their situation, how are they working, and what are their issues, and how will we be able to help and address that. And there are so many things that have, especially when you think about, our sisters when it was Jamaica and the hurricanes, and when Bahamas was almost wiped out. What do we've got to step up and do better at how we are addressing their needs and concerns on a regular basis. So what I'm saying is that we need to really sit down before we do any more, again, chartering all over the place. Let's find out what we're doing right here with what we have. Let's try to make it work for them and make some kind of model that may help work for others in the future. So it's about wanting to hear, going down there, seeing for yourself. It's like almost the International Women of Color. Why do we have the International Women of Color? Do we have the director going down there every year, seeing what's happening with those wells, with the domestic violence homes, with all that other stuff? We got to spend money on them. We can't be worrying about all the time that we traveling. We got to spend money on some of these directors that need to be in these places to come back and tell us what's going on so that we know how we can help to address certain things. Our money needs to be allocated a lot better so that we can, even if it's in programmatic, that we're getting the best bang out of our buck for doing that. This is about not just me or board member. This is about making sure that the people that we put in charge in some of these places, they have to be the ones that are responsible for going and telling us and coming back and giving us credible information so that we can work with over here. And then we got to meet these people on where they stand. If you are out there on overseas and we got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning so that we can talk to you, well, that's what we need to do, because you don't have to get up at 3 o'clock every day. But management needs to be out there showing them that we're there, that we will talk to you, we will be there. When I was first when I knew that an overseas chapter was having intake, I stayed up all night making sure if they had questions or concerns, they could ask it right there. They were shocked that I would answer them right away. That's good customer service. That's what you do for the sisterhood. You make sure it's not about you, it's about the sisterhood and how you treat them and how you respect by giving them what they need, which is a helping hand, a listening ear, and what we could do to be there for them where they stand. That's what we do.
Thank you, Grand Val. Here's a question. Any thoughts on the rising cost of insurance?
Ah. Okay. I had that question a couple of times. I'm going to tell you like this. The cost of insurance, I don't know if I recall, if any of you recall last Boulay when we had um the the section where we were talking about expulsions, and they were then talking about cost of rising insurance and all of that. And I got up to ask, well, how much is the insurance are we paying? Because I think nobody really understood what we were doing there. And then that's when the chair had to tell us it was, she didn't have an exact, but it was over $1 million. Now I can tell you that being a past grant, and I was in that position where you had to pay the insurance come September, October of every year. There's only one insurance company that is handling all of the Divine Nine. Nobody else wants us. So let's be real clear about that. Nobody else wants us because we're a risk. And I've been in insurance for years. So because there's only one insurance company, that's the only game in town. So you're gonna have to work with them. But at least we had, our membership intake process, find a woman, don't hate. We were trying to work with them. I went to some of their meetings with the first anti at the time, and other things. But at the end of the day, when you when the insurance company has to be faced with these lawsuits about pledging and hazing and all this other kind of stuff, and they have to pay, what happens? Your insurance goes up. So whatever they had to pay, our insurance went up. And it will continue to either do one or two things. If we don't stop what we're doing with pledging and hazing and other things, like um when you're talking about people stealing money from the sorority, and the sorority does nothing about it, they may go and get a report from the police, because that's the only way the insurance company will pay you back. Your insurance is going to either continue to rise or they're going to drop you. If they drop you and they're the only insurance game in town, you'll have to go to self-insurance. And self-insurance is very expensive, because that means it's the organization insuring themselves, and you have to have a certain amount of money in reserves that cannot be touched to the side year after year after year, because in case you get hit with a big suit, you have money to pay. They need to know that there's money there. That's what's expensive, and that's what will make sure that your dues go up even higher. So with this anti-hazing and Harbor Institute and all of this, I think that's a good start. You know, you got your MIP, you got your MIP2. I know everybody's not, all on board and happy with all of that, but we have to get into a different attitude. Those old days are gone. There's nothing about paper Zeta and I got a post pledge and I got a pre pledge and I got to do this. People, children getting hurt, people, children dying. We got to stop this, because as long as it continues, the insurance is going to go up. And I said right there at that boule on the floor, when they were talking about those two that they were expelling because they stole money from the organization, I said, I'm getting tired of people stealing the money. And we want grace and mercy because we don't want to do anything about it. We have to be consistent in our rules when it comes to fraudulent activities. We got to be consistent in our rules when it comes to pledging and hazing. We got to be we have to be consistent in our rules when it comes to assault. We have to be consistent. And I believe what we need to do is we need to take it really out of the hands of one person. We need to have the board or outside, but it shouldn't be just the grant that does that does C&Ds and suspension, because sometimes things get hard. You know people, you don't know people, you don't exclude yourself. All I'm saying is that we need to be consistent, because this is what's also being divisive in this sisterhood. People know what's going on, and we're not being told the whole story, or they're trying to soft soap things, and we can't do that. We have to be fair to everyone, because you are paying members and we need to know. So if you know or you see something, tell it. Because if we don't start corralling ourselves and adhering to the rules that's governing this organization, whether you like them or not, they are the rules. Everybody don't like version 11 or 12, but they the rules. They're the rules until we get new rules. So we need to follow these rules, and we can't bend them because we know somebody or they're your friends. We need to follow the rules. We need to make sure that we turn people in when they have to be turned in, and that you can show the insurance companies that you're doing your due diligence as an organization, so that they don't keep upping the cost, because they will and they can. So we have to govern ourselves accordingly.
Thank you, Grand Val. And I see by my clock that it's 7:59. There are, can we take two more questions, Grand Val?
I'm willing, if everybody else is willing to stay. I don't want to take up too much of their time for this
Sure.
evening.
Sorors, thank you. We appreciate it. We know that there are a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but we appreciate the fact that you are here and listening and asking questions for Grand Val. We're going to take two more questions. If you need to log off, that's fine. We appreciate you coming. And as Grand Val indicated, there will be other town halls as time moves on. No, the topics will not all be the same. But we do encourage you to visit her website at vhbforgrand.com, where there are details on her experiences, her accomplishments, her partnerships, which seems to have been a hot topic tonight. And any other information you have, you can always email the campaign. Any other questions, I'm sorry, that you have, you can always email the campaign. We'll be happy to answer your questions. Grand Val, here's one. What are your thoughts of having virtual access boules that allow electronic voting?
That is something that we really do have to look into because we know that as we continue to get larger, and we surely will outgrow a lot of these spaces where, even with overflow, it will be difficult. And I think we should be excited about that because we are growing like that. But we have to have that kind of option at some point. But what I would caution those to say is that when you start with an option like that, you gotta be you gotta be careful when you're going to say that option is available, and that when everybody that wants to come in person signs up to come in person, they would have to understand when that option comes up, they can't then turn around and say, "Oh, by the way, I don't want to come now. I want to do virtual, and then whatever you need to give me back, the difference." You see, we can't have that because that's not good business practice. Because it is true, we have contracts that we have to work with, and we have attrition that we have to be concerned with, and we have food and beverage minimums that we also have to be concerned with. So so we have to have something in place where if all those that are coming live need to be there live, and all of those then afterwards that you say that we open that option for can, but it has to be, we have to research that and make sure that happens. But I'm not adverse to that.
Thank you. Here's one from one of our younger sorors. It says, if you are elected, how will you ensure or continue to allow space for younger sorors in leadership positions and ensure the sorority does not go in reverse instead of moving forward?
Well, number one, I'll start with the end. I never go in reverse. I always move forward. So that will not be an issue. But for options with young people, all they should all be on all of these committees, and they should be able to be on these committees, and their voice should be heard so that they will be involved and we will be teaching them. But I want to say to the young people that, of course, when you get on these committees, you got to attend. You got to be there. It's not a title in name only. I know you all are busy, either that you're in school or just got out of school, and you're looking, you're getting a new job, and you got a lot of things going on. But if you want to be a part of the organization and making a change, you have to show up, be present, and be available when needed, so that your voice will be heard. And I promise, if you could do that, you'll be on every one of those committees that you can, even if you do not have the expertise, but that you're learning. But you have to be involved, and you have to show up. You have to be there.
Thank you, Grand Val. Do you have any closing remarks? And I do want to say that you received a lot of thank yous for being candid and for opening up and really letting them see your heart. And I see there are quite a few questions about whether or not you're going to bring Google back, and we didn't get to those, as well as other questions about the certification program and things like that. So perhaps that's something that we can do at the next town hall.
Well, I know
if
I
not
will just
sooner.
quickly tell you, I brought in
Sure.
22 partners
Yes.
in my 4 years. And they're all going to be listed and the monies next to them in my website. And Google is one of them. And I want to see if I'm going to go back and approach them and others. So I promise you that. That's the first thing. And certifications, we're going to deal with it the next time because that's a lot going on. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. You know, sometimes a lot of things are said about somebody and they could be hurtful. But I want you to know who I am. I want you to know what makes me the way I am. I'm a good person. I love this organization. I never want to hurt it. I want to do what's right. And I want to carry on. I want to carry on the flag, the mask, the whole 9 yards. Because I met Fannie Petty Watts. That was my mentor for the last 13 years of her life. She was like a grandmother to me, and that's why I am where I am today. Because without her, I don't know if I would have lasted. And there's some more after her, but she was the first when I was brought into this organization. And I respect what they had done and where they got to. And I want to do my part to make it happen and make it go further. So I want to thank you for allowing me to come into your homes tonight. I want to thank you for listening to me because you didn't have to. You didn't have to at all. You didn't even have to turn in, but you did. And I thank you because I want you to know that you can ask me and I will tell you the truth. I don't lie. Maybe I'm direct. Maybe you say that, oh, well, you know, she's a little cold. She doesn't smile a lot. She doesn't do, but that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. That just means that I have a lot on my mind that I think about. And then sometimes you got to think about how people were raised and why they are the way they are. I could get into that at another go round, but know that in my heart, the warmth is in my heart. The realness is in my heart. I'm not a phony person. I don't smile just to smile. I smile because it's real, genuine. And because I really, really love people. So you'll hear a lot more about me as these months go on, the next 8 months. And if you see me in when I'm traveling, come up to me, say hi, introduce yourself. I'll be glad to talk to you. Anything you want to know, anything you have to say, anything that's on your heart, because you are more important to me than you will ever know. So thank you again for this night. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you all again at our next Real Talk. Real questions, real answers with Val. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. You all take care, stay blessed, and I love each and every one of you. Good night.
I used to rule the world, seas would rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone, sweep the streets I used to own. I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing. sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. And